Hello everyone, my name is Brendan Snyder. Thank you so much for joining me and welcome to another episode of Best of the Box. So as part of my 11,000 CD collection, I've got 103 boxes like these. They're called the banker style box. I have done an episode about how to make those and where to get them and so forth. If you're interested, I'm going to leave a link in the description. But I've got 103 boxes like those, and here's one of them we're going to be going through today. It's got 90 CDs in it. So 90 CDs times 103 is 9,270 CDs and boxes like those, of which you can see a bunch of them outside my door there. And so I thought, it's part of this series, I'm going to grab a different box and go through it and break down the contents for you in each episode. And so as past episodes, we've done things like catch-all boxes, glam metal, new wave of British heavy metal. I did one on smaller style box sets, bootlegs and rarities, compilation collection, new releases from 2021, and I just did one the last go round. Number 10 was lockdown music. This one here, I'm going to venture back into glam metal, and this is sort of a catch-all style box for that, things I've had floating around that have just ended up in here. And we're going to get into that in just a moment, but before we do, if you're new to my channel and you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please click the button. Also leave a comment, hit like, all those things help support my channel. I would greatly appreciate it. And of course, as an added bonus, by subscribing, you'll be able to stay up to date on all that's going on in the world of music, just like this with Best of the Box, episode number 11, a catch-all style glam metal edition of this. And so we're going to dive into this. I held this up before, but I'll hold it up one more time. I'll leave a photo of this at the end. If you haven't been sticking around all the way to the end, after I say goodbye and everything, I do have a photograph that it pops up that you can pause on and go through all of these individually yourself. So stick around if you want to get that information. All right, so these are in alphabetical order, but these are by no means a full, complete part of my collection. In most cases, I do have all the studio releases by a particular artist. So this is just a catch-all of different things that have been out floating around that I've been listening to and so forth. And first up, we got Alias. So this was where a lead singer, or really the band itself from Sheriff, morphed into this. They had a album out, I think it was around 85, and they didn't have a hit off of it until many years later, and it became popular, and then the band had already broken up, so Alias was formed. And so this was the debut album, and then this album here, I believe, sat on the shelf for a long time before finally getting a release. This has a 2009 date on it, but I believe it was recorded many years before that. Next up, we've got one that I know a lot of you guys like, Badlands Dusk. This was the third album by Badlands, and everybody's always hunting down and looking for, the first two albums that feature, of course, Jake E. Lee from, Ozzy Osbourne's band, and Ray Gillen in there, who most notable from Badlands, but had sung with Black Sabbath before. That's the third album. Very hard to come by, but very good. Here's the third Bullet Boys album, Zaza. So this one was still out on Warner Brothers major label, 1991 release, no, 93 release. And, kind of came and went under the radar, and there's a lot of that sort of stuff, but I tend to lean towards albums like those. Bang Tango, Dancing on Coals, and let's also pull up the first one, Psycho Cafe. So Joe Lassette, great stuff. Love these two albums. Attack a Life off the first one, Someone Like You. The second album had the big radio hit that I knew, at least, which was Untied and True, but there's a lot of other great stuff on these. So if you don't know that band, very good one. Here's one you might not know of, Bangalore Choir, on Target, really good stuff. David Reese. So after leaving Accept, because he fronted Accept, taking over for Udo Dirkschneider, he formed this band here, and that one there is a glam metal jam. If you have never checked this out, I believe it's been reissued too now. That was on Warner Brothers too. Here's a good one, flew under the radar, a group called Blondes. Nobody in particular in here, at least that I'm aware of, that went on to do anything. This is now out on Demon Doll Records, so it has been reissued, and it's just good old-fashioned glam metal style stuff. Next up, we got Bar 7. Now, this came much later. I believe this is 2000, and it features lead vocalist for Tesla in here, and one of their lead guitar players teamed up in here. So you got Jeff Keith and Tommy Skeech in here. So it really sounds like a modern day version of Tesla. I highly recommend it if you haven't checked it out. Good stuff. Then we've got Bad Boys. This here features totally spacing on his name for a second here, but former Roughcut and Quiet Riot singer Paul Shortino. So this was his band, something he did, I think around 1994 in Japan. Didn't get a lot of traction at that time, but it finally has been reissued. So that's also on Demon Doll Records. This is one I really like, picked up during the pandemic. The Cross. This band features Roger Taylor of Queen on drums and singing. So this is a band he did in between the time of Queen and stuff. So that's cool album there. I always really liked that one best. I think he did 3 of them with that band. Then we've got this here, Quartermccormick. Anthony Quarter is the Quarter in this, and he is the lead vocalist from Tora Tora. So if you're a Tora Tora fan, Anthony Quarter has some other things out there. He's got a couple solo albums and stuff. He's also got this. This is an FNA Records release. So if I'm telling you the names of the labels that they're from, it means they're still available, that it's something that I recently picked up. Here's an interesting one. Cycle Sluts from Hell. Flip it over. It's an all-female band. It's really not glam metal. It's heavy metal. But I just sort of group it in here, or got grouped in here with this, so I wouldn't really say it was glam metal per se. Sorry, all these are falling down in here as I'm trying to get this ready for the next one. But it's good stuff, and it's just tongue-in-cheek heavy metal style stuff, so you can check that out. All right, so next up we've got Dirty Blonde Passion. Again, can't say much about these guys, but the song itself, Passion, I knew it was on a compilation. And so some of these things I'm pulling out here, just keep in mind, if you're a glam metal fan like me and you're looking for some deep dives on stuff, a band like Dirty Blonde or Blondes, those are definitely great ones to dive into. Here's one you guys probably all know. It's my favorite one by this band, Dirty Looks, Turn of the Screw, and another really great one by them, Cool from the Wire. So I always have these two out floating around. Love these guys. It's such a shame that the lead vocalist passed away way too young. Just really good stuff from them. Here's another one you might recognize, but not necessarily the album itself. Electric Boys, and it's Funko Metal Carpet Ride, like the debut, but this one here is the original released from their home country before they got picked up here in the US. It's got a different mix and a few different tracks on it, so I tracked it down, but of course I do have the major label US release on it that has, of course, the big hit from the time, All Lips and Hips. And if you don't know that song, you want to hear some really good funk, glam metal style stuff, check that out, really good. Okay, next up, Elements of Friction. This one here is an interesting little super group that features, let's see, let me flip it out here, but we've got lead vocalist Robin McAuley. So a lot of you guys who are big fans of Robin McAuley, Black Swan that he's come back to do now, and of course coming from Macaulay Schenker Group and whatnot, he's the lead vocalist here. Then we got Tommy Aldridge on drums, Ricky Phillips on bass. Not familiar with the guitar player Marcus Nan, but really good album across the board. I believe this was early 2001, in fact. So if you're looking for more stuff from Robin McAuley, he does have that. All right, we have the second album from Electric Angels called Lost in the Atlantic. And of course, that's a tongue-in-cheek thing to the fact that they were on Atlantic Records. This was their second album recorded at the time and shelved, and then didn't get released until 2017 on Metal Legacy, but you can pick it up from Demon Doll Records as well. All right, then I've got a bunch of Enough's Enough albums in here. Dissonance, one of their later ones, simply called Question Mark from 2004. Welcome to Blue Island, another good one. These are all Japanese releases, 2002. Number 10 from 2000. Tweaked, which is 95. And then this one here called 1985 because it's demos from around that era, but this one came out, I believe, in 1995 or somewhere around that time frame. But good stuff. I have all the stuff from Enough's Enough and can't speak high enough of that band, and so I will pull any of their stuff out. Fraley's Comet, Live Plus One, not really glam metal in my opinion, but certainly part of that era, and just one I didn't have in the collection, so pick that up. And then we've got Femme Fatale. Actually, I got 2 of these here. So this is the debut album, self-titled, and then there was a second album recorded but not released, and so FNA Records recently put this out. It's got a 2016 release date on it, but it was recorded in 1989. So if you like Femme Fatale, Do check that out. Waiting for the Big One, Falling In and Out of Love. Both good songs, amazing music videos for those things. So yeah, you know, just good stuff there. And then we've got some other things. Freak of Nature. This was the band that Mike Tramp of White Lion did after breaking up White Lion. It's a little into the early, it's 1993. So it's just after, of course, the crash of all the glam metal stuff. And then we've got Freight Train Jane, which has Jamie St. James from Black and Blue. There he is there. 1994, what he did, of course, after that band, you know, fell apart and whatnot. So some of this stuff is of the era originally, and other stuff is these members continuing on and so forth. So got some Hanoi Rocks in here, which are, you know, early on guys that really helped define the glam metal thing. And Michael Monroe, to this day, still one of the most consummate rock and roll stars out there. I love him. Jimmy Jamison of Survivor doing a solo album. This one here came out in 1991, really flew under the radar, but I do love that. And here's one I showed you guys recently that I was listening to, Johnny Law, self-titled release. Don't know, again, much about these guys, but the album itself came out, I want to say like 90 or 91, somewhere right around there. I can't see the date on it quick enough. But just good, straight ahead blues rock and roll that got swept along with everything and unfortunately didn't make a big enough impact to stick around, unfortunately. Here's another great band you might not know of, Juliet, featuring Kenny Mcgee on lead vocals, produced by Frankie Sullivan of Survivor fame. And again, you know, if like maybe there's two of these that you're going to pick up, go find Juliet, their self-titled release, and that Bangalore Choir. Just, oh, so good. Kit Tracy, No Rules. Great stuff. Lead vocalist for Kit Tracy was actually in the running to take over the lead vocalist position in Motley Crue, but of course lost out to John Corabi of The Scream. But if you want to know who is the number 2 guy, it's this guy here. And you know, they had a sort of semi-hits with the song No Rules and You're So Strange, but they also did a cover of Mrs. Robinson on here from Simon and Garfunkel, so that was kind of cool. Got a Crocus album in here, one of the ones from the late 80s, 1988, simply called Heart Attack. Good stuff. You can't ever go wrong with Crocus. I mean, Mark Storchi, such good vocalist. He was in the running to take over the slot in place of Bon Scott, but Brian Johnson, of course, got it. So Kiss of the Gypsy. Here's a good blues rock band, not quite in the glam metal vein, but again, they got pigeonholed and stuck into that. But, you know, just look at the guys. You can see, you know, they're going to rock out good. And that's kind of how I find these things. I saw this. I said, oh, it's an interesting cover. I flipped it over. I looked at the back of that and I said, yeah, those guys fit in that vein. I'm going to check it out. And they're just really good blues rock kind of stuff of that era. All right, I got Two Kingdom Come CDs here, later ones. This is the 3rd album, I believe, Hands of Time. Might be the 4th one, can't quite remember the order of it, but 2 of the later era Kingdom Come albums. You know, and everyone talked about them being a Led Zeppelin sort of rip-off or clone style band, but I still feel like these guys really had a lot to offer in their own right. It's a shame they got pigeonholed as that, because just a great band, and they continued on for many, many years outside of the US, not really having any more success here, but those are some of the later era ones. Here's an interesting one. This is one I planned on doing for my Glam Metal Gems kind of thing, you know, the sort of hidden thing that nobody knows about. A group called Compte. And this here has an interesting lineup to it. So Michael LeCompte, who was part of a band called Tangier, also had ties back to Cinderella, both the band Tangier and he did. Rick Cranitti on here, who I believe played with Black Eyed Susan. Billy Childs from Britney Fox is on here, and then Richie DiCarlo, and I'm not sure where he comes from, but you know, the lineup for this was just amazing, and it was one of those ones where the guys, all of their bands had broken up, and in the very early 90s, maybe 92, 93 era, formed a new band, and they just couldn't get signed because glam metal had fallen. But 6 songs there by that lineup of a group that just, if you like Tangier and you like Britney Fox, check out LeCompte. Okay, We were talking about Robin McAuley a little bit ago. Business as Usual, a solo album from him. Japanese release. Looks like it came out around 1999. Yeah, 1999 is the date on the back of this. And again, if you like any of his stuff, you're going to love this. He has just stayed true to the sound that he formed and generated with Michael Schenker and Macaulay Schenker Group. Another interesting one. Brian McDonald Group. I picked this up because Reb Beach plays in it and it was involved with it, but it turned out, and I didn't know much about Brian McDonald, but I actually really like that album. It's a little more straight ahead rock or pop rock, style soundings than glam metal or the heavier stuff, but good nonetheless. And now you might say this really isn't glam metal, and okay, but definitely came out in that era. And we're talking about Mother Love Bone. And we've got, their EP that they first put out, simply called Shine, and then the later album itself, which I believe was called Apple. And then, of course, they've combined all these things. And, of course, those guys would go on and form Pearl Jam and stuff like that. But, if you listen to that, that's really what that was of that era. Just a little on the outside of what was starting to happen. We talked about Kenny Mcgee and the band Juliet, and here's an album he made after leaving that band called Lefty, or his band Lefty. I grew up in the Tampa Bay area, and so he was from that area and he went back to that area, and so he joined a band called Heartless. And if you know of Heartless and you like what they did, a bunch of those songs turned up on this release here. Now, talking about Heartless, I have these three things from Kenny Mcgee. That is, Heartless, Days 1, Days 2, and a live album. All stuff he just recently put out, recorded back around 92, 93. And this stuff here is on Eolian, if I'm saying that right, EONIAN Records. So just reissued Juliet along with those three things. And I believe even the Kenny Mcgee and Lefty is now on that label. So if you're a fan of Juliet or Kenny Mcgee, you can pick that stuff up. All right, I got some more stuff related to Hanoi Rocks here. We've got Michael Monroe stuff. One Man Gang, which is, I want to say his last solo album. He's got a new one getting ready to come out. Blackout States, really good one. Horns and Halos, which I like a lot. And Sensory Overdrive. So just some cool stuff. As I said, he's got a lot of great albums out there. I mean, just look at this guy. He just always looks like the consummate rocker, no matter how old he's gotten or what band he's in. Just looks great. All right, we got Man Ray's debut album and follow-up, and interesting lineup for the group here. The reason it's in here is we got Phil Collen of Def Leppard, but we've also got the drummer from Sex Pistols in here, and we got one of the guys from the band Girl that Phil Collen came from early on, along with Phil Lewis from LA Guns. So cool connection there amongst all three of the guys. All right, Marcelo Vestry. And so this one here I picked up because it has the guitarist Rob Marcello from current lineup of Danger Danger, or what was the current lineup? I mean, these guys still tour now with more original guys, but when they were recording thing up until a while ago, Rob Marcello played the guitar for them. So Andy Timmons was really the original guitar player, and he comes out and he plays on some of their albums here and there and stuff like that. This was produced by Bruno Ravel, the bassist of Danger Danger. So you got these two guys from Danger Danger doing this, and that was something of interest to me for that. Nelson, Before the Rain. So a bunch of demos and things from before the album that was called After the Rain, the demos from it. Always liked Nelson, even though they got a bit of a bad rap as, one-hit wonder, pretty boy, kind of rock. Steve Plunkett of Autograph, one and only solo album that he did called My Attitude. Really, really good stuff. Here's another one that I highly recommend if you can find and locate this. I got lucky enough finding that in a used record store. Don't think they knew what they had. Here's another local band from the Tampa area that I absolutely love. Great glam metal band, Rocks Gang. Continued on for a number of years after, morphed into a group called I'm totally spacing now. Mojo something. Again, Rocks Gang, if you can track this down, things you've never done before. And Gee, I'm trying to totally spacing on the name of the other band. Want to say Mojo Rising, but that's a Doors related thing. Yeah, so I mean, this band here itself, Rocks Gang, continued on, and what they did is they developed an acoustic version of the band Rocks Gang, and they did it under a different name, and it had something to do with Mojo in it, and they got some success with that. They even got re-signed to a major label at one point, and then that all kind of unfortunately fizzled out. But I believe that version of the band is still going. I'll leave a little note in my description just answering that question, because I know you guys are gonna ask me about it and or tell me about it till I'm blue in the face, but I just can't think of it right now. All right, Kane Roberts, guitar player with Alice Cooper, fantastic debut, well, no, actually second solo album by him. Never really got into that first one that he did. He was still all pumped up, and he had the machine gun guitar and all the muscles and everything as the bodybuilder, which was the image that he had in Alice Cooper. But by this point, he kind of toned it down, and he did this record with Desmond Child. So if you're a fan of Desmond Child like I am, and his songwriting capabilities and production that he could do, he did a great job on that. Kill for Thrills. So Gilby Clark, this is the band he came from before going to Guns N' Roses. Motorcycle Cowboys, really great track, first track on here. Commercial Suicide is the second one. Dynamite from Nightmare Land, really good album from 1990. Band could have gone on and done a lot of great stuff, I think, had he not left, but of course we know where everything was going in the glam metal world. Red Dawn, this is really maybe more melodic rock, but cool band, kind of a little bit of a super group. Got David Rosenthal on keyboards in here. Chuck Burgee and Greg Smith, both of Rainbow, play on here, so drums and bass respectively. Then we've got a Roughcut album, one that the band made after Shortino left the group, Paul Shortino. And so this one here is the Perry McCarty years. And so he's the singer who played with Steve Stevens in his band, Atomic Playboys. So interesting to see what they would have sounded like had Roughcut continued with him. Silent Witness. This is a project that came out in '97 and features Robert Mason from Lynch Mob, and of course goes on to sing with, I want to say he also sang with Cry of Love, but singing with Warrant currently. This one here, very much in the vein of, Lynch Mob and that sort of style stuff. I have this in here, Spinal Tap, Break Like the Wind, because this was their glam metal album that they did. Of course, they had their black album, self-titled, I believe, that was much more of the 70s classic rock stuff, but I liked them. I liked that album, Break Like the Wind. Soul Circus, World Play. So this was a cool little super group. Neil Sean of Journey in here. We got Jeff Scott Soto, Dean Castronovo on drums, and Marco Mendoza on bass. I think interesting, I think all these guys have played with Journey at one time or another. Marco Mendoza maybe not, but he should be, because they just lost their bass player again, so they should get him in if not already. Here's another glam metal gem, one that's under the radar, but I like a whole lot. Sin City. Don't know anything about these guys. Found them locally here in New York City. It's an EP of 5 tracks. It came out in 1990. But I put this on, just took a chance on it, and it is so good. You sometimes just wonder how these bands, flew under the radar. Like this one, Surrender Dorothy. So this is made up of a bunch of guys that are related to that band Tangier that I was talking about with Michael LeCompte and his band LeCompte. So some guys from Tangier, but also related back again to Cinderella. So all these guys from that Philadelphia area. 2 albums from Soraya. I know a lot of you guys like her, and some cool ties here. Jeff Glixman produced this from Kansas fame. Good album there. Here's an interesting one. Spies for Darwin, that features the guitar player Chris DeGarmo of Queensryche. Also features Vinny Dombrowski from Sponge, and we've got Mike Inez of Alice in Chains and Sean Kinney also of Alice in Chains. So quite a lineup there, and they did a 6-song EP, and unfortunately nothing else from them at that point. Keeping on with the relation to Queensryche, we got Soulbender, Michael Wilton's side project band. That's not very much glam metal sounding there, but he's in there because of his ties to that era. Some Taiketo, Reach, I believe that's their latest one. Dig In Deep right before that, but this one here going way back, Shine. And this one here features Steve Augeri, who would later go on to front Journey for 2 albums. And so he did that, and he was in a group called Tall Stories. So I knew him from Tall Stories, and then being in here before he joined Journey. All right, I have a TNT album in here, Realized Fantasies. This is on the Wounded Bird label. Just one that I recently had gotten to finish off the collection, and one of their better albums in my opinion. 21 Guns, Nothing's Real. So this is Scott Gorham's band that he did the second album that Scott Gorham did with that band. Again, his version of a glam metal band. Davey Vane of the band Vane doing a solo album. Don't actually have any Vane in here, but I love that band Vane. Again, if that's a band you don't know, their debut album, really good. All right, we got Vinnie Vincent in here. We got the debut album, and we've got All Systems Go. And All Systems Go is the one that I really like. That one's got Mark Slaughter and Dana Strum, both of the band Slaughter. This is where they started off before leaving and forming the band Slaughter. So if you want to hear some more music by Mark Slaughter, that's where you can go for it. Wildside, we all like them, and these guys, their debut album had been out of print called Under the Influence for so long, but is finally back in print on Bad Reputation Records. This is on F&A Records, who's put out a couple different things from Wildside. This is all the demos from before they were signed, so that one's totally worthwhile. We got Wolfsbane, lead vocalist Blaze Bailey, who would go on to front Iron Maiden. So not really glam metal, much more hard rock metal. But some of the stuff just ends up in here. It gets a little convoluted at times. But then we've got Widowmaker, which features frontman Dee Snider of Twisted Sister. So the debut album, which I absolutely love, and I got to meet him. There he is right on the back. This was the second album. They got much heavier for it. Times changed. A lot of these bands changed their sound, and unfortunately, it just hurt them. Here's War and Peace, a group, a little bit of a super group. It was formed by Jeff Pilson from Dokken. We've got Russ Parrish in here on lead guitar, Tommy Hendricks on bass, and Ricky Parent on drums, who would go on to play with Enough's Enough. Here's another album by War and Peace. I think an entirely different lineup for that one. Love this band, Witness. Not a lot known about them. Produced by Kevin Ellison. Really great stuff, but just good. I don't believe any of the members that are in here played on this, except of course Debbie Davis, the vocalist, and she's really what this is all about. But we did have Damon Johnson as the guitar player, but I've read somewhere that the band that's listed here didn't actually play on the album. They were going to be the band that would tour and so forth. All right, and to close this thing out, got some Warlock in here. My absolute favorite one here, Triumph and Agony, but True as Steel is just another great one here. And she was recently just celebrating it, played that album in its entirety live, and put out a live album from it if you want to get it. But there you go. That is Best of the Box. It is a glam metal catch-all edition. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Maybe found some stuff you didn't know about. You can go search out. Like I said, there's a lot of great labels out there. FNA Records, Demon Doll Records, a lot of other good ones that I mentioned within this. Those are labels that are still putting that stuff out, doing reissues. Bad Reputation Records, Wounded Bird. So a lot of those labels, go check them out and you can find a bunch of this cool stuff here. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, please remember to comment, like, and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts. Have a great day, and I'll talk to y'all real soon. Bye-bye.